Hello and welcome to the 1 year anniversary of Off the Hook Crochet YouTube channel. I am so excited. My channel has made it a year and I am really happy with how well I'm doing so far. But I wanted to plan something special for y'all today because it's the 1 year anniversary. So I've got my little drink here. May or may not be alcoholic. We're not admitting anything. And I have a little bit of a new setup here in case you haven't noticed. This is my recently acquired purchase. I love me a good antique. I love antiques. And I know, I'm actually in a really fortunate era because antiques don't cost as much as they used to. This piece 10, 20 years ago would have been $600. I paid $200 for this. She's moving and she had to downsize, and she's really glad that it's going to a loving home, and it's going to stash some of my beautiful hand-dyed yarns so that I can keep them where they're not getting all dusty and all that kind of good stuff. So let's talk about what we're going to do today. First, a little drink. Cheers to a year. Okay, so today what I thought I would do is play a little bit of Would You Rather. Only we're going to do this as crochet edition. And I apologize, my throat is a little bit scratchy today. I'm still getting over a little bit of a cold again. But Would You Rather crochet edition. And so what this is I have asked ChatGPT to give me a list of Would You Rather questions. And I'm going to go through these and I'll read them to you and then I will respond to them for me.
So I want you to kind of respond as well. Just kind of think about them for yourself and then play along in the comments. I want this to be so fun. So let's share our responses in the comments. So if you have one that you're like, oh yeah, totally, share that with me in the comments. Okay, the first one. Now, remember, these are all ChatGPT generated. So I might skip one or two here or there if they're like, what? But we'll do our best. The first one, would you rather have an endless supply of perfect yarn or an amazing handmade project appear completed every week? Well, see, if I had an amazing handmade project appear every week, that means I wasn't doing it myself. Therefore, I have to go with the endless supply of yarn. How about you? Yes or no? Number 2. Would you rather accidentally unravel an entire project you've been working on for months or lose all of your favorite hooks? I'm going to have to say lose all my favorite hooks because those are replaceable. A project that I've been working on for months, that's a lot of time. I don't think I could handle having to restart that over. Yeah, I'm going to say lose all my favorite hooks because I can buy more of those. Would you rather only be able to crochet using a super tiny 2mm hook or a massive 25mm hook for the rest of your life? Oh, a 2mm hook or a 25mm hook? I don't think I like either of those options. Both of those feel like they're, like, if those are my only two options, I might give up crochet. Because the big hooks, I think the biggest that I've done was a 14mm hook, and it just wasn't pleasant. And the 2mm hooks, they tend to make my hands hurt. So I might end up giving up crochet if those are my only two options. And then I'm going to learn how to knit instead. So there you go. How about you? Would you rather have to explain your current project to a non crocheter every time you work on it, or always have someone critique your tension? You know, I'm kind of a teacher at heart, so I don't mind explaining my project. It probably would get tedious if I have to explain it every single time. But, like, for example, I was even at the dermatologist today, and he saw me with my crochet bag, and he's like, "Oh, my daughter loves to knit." And I said, "Well, this is crochet." And he goes, "Well, which is the one with the two thingies?" And I said, "That's knit, and they're needles. Crochet uses a hook." I don't mind explaining that to people. I don't get offended by people not understanding the difference because, frankly, if you ask me the difference between two different types of cars, I'll probably be like, "Yeah, I don't know." So there's a lot of things that I don't know the difference between. I don't mind explaining. I don't mind teaching and helping people to understand. So definitely I would rather explain the current project. Would you rather have color changing yarn that changes at random or yarn that tangles instantly after opening? Is this even a question? Um, you know what? Color changing yarn that randomly. I think I have some color changing yarn that changes at random. That's okay. I mean, it's not suitable for all projects, but it's totally usable. So definitely have to go with that option over tangling instantly after opening. Yeah, no, that's not a good choice at all. Would you rather be able to crochet lightning fast, but always make minor mistakes, or crochet extremely slow with perfect precision?
You know what? I make minor mistakes anyway, and I'm kind of slow at it, so I guess I'm going to have to go with the lightning fast because you can always go back and fix minor mistakes if you need to and still end up faster overall than if you are perfect all the time. I kind of use the same thing when I'm typing. Like, I would rather type fast and then use, the correction features than be really slow and perfect the first time out. So, yes. Would you rather accidentally felt an entire wool project or run out of yarn 2 inches from completing a complex blanket? Hmm. Well, that really depends on the blanket because sometimes you can kind of wing it. If you play yarn chicken and lose, sometimes that's not that big of a deal. It depends on the project. Uh, and felt it, I mean, if you felt a wool project, odds are it's probably not going to be usable over again. So I'm going to say run out of yarn. Would you rather only be allowed to use acrylic yarn or only natural fibers for the rest of your crochet life? Hands down, natural fibers. There are a lot of. If you've been watching the channel for any length of time, you know that acrylic and fisherman's wool are probably the reason that I avoided knitting and crochet for many, 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 many years of my life because the itchy scratchiness of those two products was just maybe there's a little sensitivity there to the skin thing that it's just like nails on a chalkboard for me. And I think that there are more soft options available in natural fibers than there are in acrylic. So I'm going to have to say, plus, then you have more variety. So there, yeah, natural fibers. All right. Okay, our next one. Would you rather have to start every new project with a magic ring or always have to work in the back loop only? Okay, this one, no question. I don't mind the magic ring. I don't have any issues with it. In fact, I probably prefer it to the alternative. Back loop only, I don't mind, but sometimes it gets a little like tedious and it slows me down. So definitely the magic ring. Would you rather accidentally donate a project you meant to keep or accidentally keep a project that you meant to donate? Really? Well, of course, I'd rather accidentally keep a project I meant to donate because I can still donate it. I mean, I just have to donate it at a different time. At the end of the day, if I donate something that I meant to keep, it's still not the end of the world. I hope that that love gets passed on to somebody else. But of course, I would rather accidentally keep something that I meant to donate because I can still turn around and donate it again. Would you rather have hands that can crochet perfectly but never type or write again, or hands that can type and write perfectly but never crochet again? Well, this one is a no brainer too because there are so many text to type programs out there, or talk to text, talk to type. Yes, those things. Yeah, I don't need to be able to type to survive in this world anymore, but crocheting is so therapeutic to me that I don't want to get by without being able to crochet. So definitely I'm going to go with the ability to crochet over texting and writing. I can manage without those. There's alternatives. Would you rather join yarn by Russian joining method, which is where you kind of like tie the yarns together as you're going through, or always have to weave in hundreds of loose ends? Well, since I don't actually use the Russian join, but I do a slip knot, and so far, knock on wood, I have not had a problem with that. I would much rather use that than have to weave in all of those ends at the end. So, yeah. Because for me, weaving in ends, like, it's not just the act of weaving in the ends, it's the fact that every time I wash them, I feel like I have to weave in the ends again. And that's not much fun. Would you rather only be able to make amigurumi or only be able to make blankets for the rest of your life? Well, since I've never made a blanket and I've found that amigurumi is a little bit too challenging. Well, I guess that depends on how you define amigurumi. If you define it as the true amigurumi where, it uses like a cotton yarn and the stitches are really tight, not like using the plushy yarn, but something that is more structured, I would probably have to go with the blankets because that type of amigurumi just really hurts my hands, and I probably couldn't do it over the long haul. So I'd have to go with blankets on that one. Would you rather have yarn that's perfectly soft but splits constantly, or yarn that's slightly scratchy but holds its shape perfectly? I'm going to go with the soft. I can deal with the splitting. It's going to drive me nuts, but I won't use scratchy yarn. This is slightly scratchy. Um, I have used slightly scratchy. I don't prefer it. I don't know. That's a hard one. Huh. Yeah, I'm going to stick with the soft and splitty yarn. For this, I used Karen Simply Soft, and a lot of people say that that is a really splitty yarn. I did not find it that bad. So maybe however I crochet tends to not get the splitty that a lot of people do. So maybe, yeah, okay. All right. Would you rather crochet in complete silence or always have to crochet while listening to someone else's loud music? Give me silence. any day. Uh, I'm not a huge music fan anyway. There's a lot of music that I'm like, eh. I do like classic rock and some other musics, but if it's a music that I don't care for, give me silence any day. Like I could even just crochet in silence just for the heck of it. So yes. Would you rather accidentally use the wrong hook size for an entire project or accidentally use mismatched hooks for different sections? Well, I think I've actually done both of these and both of them worked out just fine in the end, so I don't think that one really matters to me. I just somehow have managed to make it work. I try not to. I use methods now. I actually have, I can show you these. These are cool. So I picked up these bags from Michael's recently, and they were on sale for a really good price. They were like $3 each, and it's from the Creatology brand. And I can put the hook in the front pocket and the project in the middle pocket or in the back pocket. And the great thing about that is then the hook is not actually getting like hooked into the project. So when you take the project out of the bag, then it gets hooked in there and it kind of pulls your stitches loose. Everything else fits in here. So far, I've made an entire top with using, and it fit in here. Now, it probably would not fit like a blanket, but for most of the things that I'm making, maybe not even the size of a cardigan, but pretty close if you're doing it in sections. You don't have to take the whole thing. So, and I love the fact that it's got the handle. So, what was the question this was related to? Maybe this might not be water. Who knows? Okay, let's see. So what was that question? Oh, oh yes. So my point in that is because I can keep the hook with the project, I'm getting to the point where I no longer have that issue of using the wrong hook size for a project. That's what that question was. Okay. Are we having fun yet? I'm having fun, which is the whole purpose of this. So let's keep going. Would you rather have a massive stash of yarn you can never use or only be allowed to buy exactly enough yarn for each project? Oh, that's a tricky one. Would you rather have a massive stash of yarn that you could never use or only be allowed to buy exactly enough yarn for each project? And I'll tell you, I'll tell you the reason why this is tricky for me is because I am a very frugal spender. So I tend not to spend, I like to buy yarn for the projects, but I also occasionally like to kind of splurge and have that yarn in case I get inspiration later. If I don't have to buy it, then I think I'm going to go with the massive stash because it does not say that I'm not allowed to buy more yarn. It only says that there is a stash of yarn that I cannot use. Is that working the system? I'm going with that one. Would you rather accidentally shrink a delicate project in the wash or have a pet or family member accidentally cut through your work? I think the result is kind of the same here. Maybe, I don't think it really matters. Both of them have pretty much ruined your project, so I don't think either one of those is a good alternative. Let me know if you have a different idea there. Maybe one can be fixed. I mean, I know sometimes you can kind of unshrink projects if you know the right process and you use the right type of yarn. So maybe that one. We'll at least then I can test to see if that process of unshrinking something actually works. Would you rather only be able to read written patterns or only be able to follow charts for the rest of your crochet life? Well, since I learned on written patterns and I don't follow charts that often, charts can be helpful, but I don't rely on them, so I got to go with the written pattern. Would you rather have to restart a complex project every time you make a mistake or be forced to leave the mistake in? Well, I suppose that depends on how intense the mistake is. Let me give you an example. I recently finished The Mystical Tea by Hanjan Crochet. I love this yarn. Isn't this gorgeous? I should be wearing this right now. I really should. This is a very lovely top. And it is a beautiful pattern, but it is a pattern that is very challenging for me. Maybe not everybody, but for me to follow consistently. So I don't know how well you can see this, but you can see that the pattern kind of goes one way and then I actually missed a row. So then the pattern is actually different up here because I skipped that row. So if I turn it inside out, the pattern is actually reversed. Now, I frogged this thing at least 3 times, a good percentage of it. So by the time I realized that I did that, I was not going to frog it again. So the answer is yes, no. I will frog some mistakes, and other mistakes I just leave in. And part of that depends very much on how many times and how long I've been working on the project and how far back I have to frog to get it right. So, yeah, I have a love-hate relationship. I say 2 loves and a hate because overall I am thrilled with the way that pattern came out. And I'm very excited to wear that top. Hate because it was very challenging for me. I don't think the pattern was challenging. It really was not a hard pattern. It was a pretty simple one. But me staying consistent with changing the rows because every other row is different. There's a 2-row repeat pattern, and I would often miss a row, so then the pattern got reversed. And while the pattern reverse doesn't matter on many projects, it really does on this one. There is a right side and a wrong side, and it's very obvious. Fortunately, because I used the yarn that I did, the pattern disconnect is not as obvious. This kind of, the colorway distracts your eye from it. So at the end of the day, I'm like, it's good enough. It's not winning any awards, and I'm okay with that. Would you rather have chronic second sock sleeve syndrome or never be able to start a new project? I have no idea what chronic second sock sleeve syndrome is. So I'm going to skip that question. If you know what that is, let me know in the comments below. That might be an interesting one. Hi, sweetie. I've got my food for you. Oh, you're pretty girl, huh? Jill. Come up. Come here. Come Jill. Come say hi. Come say hi. Ja. Okay. You're gonna sneeze. You're gonna get your nose in there and sneeze. Would you rather only be able to use solid colors or only be able to use variegated multicolor yarn? Hands down, variegated. I love the ability to crochet because I can get away from just using solid colors all the time. When I go shopping, I am usually experiencing something where it's either a solid color or a floral or a geometric print. And that bores me to tears. So being able to use variegated, multi-tones, tonal, phasing, all of those kind of things to me is one of the huge appeals in being able to crochet. So hands down, I want to use the colors. How about you? What do you want to do? Ooh, this is a nasty one. Would you rather have arthritis that only affects you while crocheting or constantly dropping your stitches no matter how careful you are? Well, dropping your stitches doesn't really count. I think that's technically a knitting term, drop stitches, because I've never heard that term in crochet. But something simpler like maybe a missed stitch, maybe that's what it means, possibly. And I've got to say, I kind of miss stitches anyway. And having arthritis only while I'm crocheting doesn't sound like much fun. I think I might have to give up crocheting if that were the case. So I'm going to go with the missed stitches. Would you rather accidentally mix up your yarn colors mid project or run out of a specific color with no hope of finding an exact match? Accidentally mix up your yarn colors. Well, that might be hard to recover from. And most people would assume that no hope of finding an exact match would be hard to recover from. But I like to, and I enjoy the process of saying, all right, I don't have enough of this yarn. What color can I use to complement it and substitute instead? So I'm not, in fact, I'm actually trying to find something that is not a really close match, but something that complements it instead to give it a little extra flavor. So, for example, if I had run out of yarn, this is the sleeve here is actually, it's more like a cuff, I guess, is actually the same yarn, but I might have gone with something that was, maybe if I ran out of it, I would have picked something that was like a neutral color or, um, I don't know, maybe a blue because this reminds me of a sunset, or a white because it reminds me of the sunset and that could be a cloud or something like that. Or I don't know, something that doesn't try and fight with the color that's there and blend in, but complements it and sort of stands out. Hope that makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Would you rather have to explain your hobby to someone who thinks it's just like knitting or constantly be asked to make free items for others? Well, this is similar to the question that we had earlier. I definitely don't want to be asked to make free items for others constantly, but I don't mind being asked by people who I know would really appreciate those things if it's possible for me to make something. I always have the option of saying no, and I don't have a hard time saying no if it's not something that I could do. I love the idea of getting to make things for others that they've asked of me, because then I know that they're going to appreciate all the more. Now, granted, there is a little bit of, oh my gosh, is this good enough for them? And I've sort of gotten over that. I've sort of just kind of like, you know what? It is what it is. I'm proud of it. I'm going to be happy to give it to them. If they don't love it, it's not, I'm going to allow myself not to have my feelings hurt. So I'm really kind of good with either one. Probably I would lean to explaining the hobby though, because constantly being asked for things might get a little old. Would you rather only be able to crochet in bright, harsh lighting or only be able to crochet in extremely dim light? Am I allowed to use tools? Because I have a neck light and I have used it when hubby and I are having our TV watching time and he doesn't want the overhead light on, so I will use that. But if I'm not allowed to use neck tools, then absolutely 100% it's going to be in the harsh bright light. Would you rather have a project that looks perfect from afar but terrible up close, or a project that looks amazing up close but terrible from a distance? Well, I'm not sure how anything that looks amazing up close would look terrible from a distance. But I suppose I would have to go with perfect from far away because I'm not getting that close and personal with most people. So if somebody is, actually like, oh, let me see. Oh, look, you missed a stitch there. Oh, yeah, you know what? You reversed your rows. Most people are not getting that close and personal to me, so I'm going to go with the perfect from afar. Would you rather accidentally wash a wool project in hot water or accidentally iron a delicate acrylic creation? This also sort of goes back to, your project shrinking, and I I'm pretty sure there's a way to try and unshrink things, but if you accidentally iron something that's acrylic, you run the risk of not only destroying that project, but also your iron. So I'm going to go with the washing the project in hot water. Besides which, sometimes that could be a good thing if it's kind of started to hang a little big. Maybe you need to wash it in hot water to shrink it up just a little bit. Not so that it felts, but just so that it shrinks up a little bit. So yeah, we're going to go with that one. Would you rather be stuck using the same 3 stitches forever or have to learn a completely new complex stitch for every single project? Well, this one really taps into that. Holy heck, I don't know how to make that decision because I have always said that I'm the kind of person that needs consistency and variety. And this is just pulling at both of those. One is consistent without variety, and one is complete variety without any consistency. I don't think I can make a choice on this one. Same 3 stitches forever, or have to learn a. You know what? I guess I'm going to go with the same 3 stitches because even with 3 stitches, there's a lot of variety that you can do. And at least if I'm doing the same stitches, there aren't, like, if I'm having to learn something new every single time, that can be very taxing and exhausting. So there's going to be some learning in different patterns and how those stitches are used. I'm going to go with the 3 stitches. That's it. And our last question, just for today, would you rather accidentally gift a project with a massive mistake or keep a project you know has a major error? I'm not sure I would keep a project with a major error. I would either frog it and redo it or just get rid of it. I don't think it's offensive to keep it. It's just kind of cluttering up your home. Accidentally gifting a project with a massive mistake. I suppose there might be a good possibility that what I consider a massive mistake, they're not even going to notice. I guess, though, at the end of the day, I'm going to keep the project that has a major error because at least I'm not bestowing that error on somebody else and it's just taking up space in my home, and maybe I can reuse the yarn. So yeah, that's the one I'm going to go with for sure. Okay, So this was a lot of fun. I definitely had some head scratchers in there. I definitely will hope and read through all of the comments below because I want to see how you respond to all of these. I think there were about 30 of them. I don't think I ditched any of them actually. So there were 30 questions there, and I can't wait to read yours. I can't wait to read your responses to them. Thank you so much. If you've been here from the beginning, I appreciate you. If you've been here from the last one, if this is your very first episode watching, thank you so much for joining me. I love to have fun. I love to be insightful and just enjoy the hobby that we have created for ourselves in whatever way it looks. Thank you so much, and here's to another year.